Afternoon, 6th grade students. Thank you for joining me tonight on our math video. Tonight we are going to be learning about congruent and similar shapes. Now, congruent and similar shapes, this is probably going to be the shortest and easiest video you will have watched so far. So, congruent figures have the same size and shape. Now let's look at these two hearts. These two hearts are the same, they appear to be the same size. They're both shapes, but let's double check here. We take this, drag it over, and look, they match up, therefore they are congruent. Yes. Let's see if I can get this working here. Yes, these are congruent. Now let's look at the stars. The stars, they're the same shape, but let's see, the definition of congruent figures, they say the same size and shape. So let's see here. We have star. This one is much smaller than the other star. So therefore they are not congruent. Now let's look at this last set of shapes, the arrows. Now we see that they're both arrows, but one's pointing the other way. Does that make a difference when we're looking at congruent figures? It may or it may not. Let's look at the definition again. Congruent figures have to be the same size and the same shape. So let's see. Same shape. That one's a plus. They are both arrows, but let's see here. Let's see how it works. Okay, so we have, get this to grab it. Okay, well, it's not wanting to work for me this very second. So, oh, here we go. I was going to take it. There we go. I can flip it around, move it over, and we see that it was going to be totally perfect here. They are the same shape and the same size, so yes. These shapes are congruent. Now, the important thing to remember about congruent figures is that when you're comparing two things, the corresponding angle or side is what we're looking at. So if I had a shape like this, and then another one like this, I would first have to rotate it so they would be matching. Flip that one that way just a little bit so it looks like the second one here. And then these two angles are corresponding angles. These two angles are corresponding angles. And these two angles right here are corresponding angles. It's the same side as what we're looking at. That's what we mean. So when I'm looking at the sides, look at these two sides as corresponding sides. These two sides are corresponding sides, and these two sides are corresponding sides. So it's very important that we match those up when we're checking to see if they are congruent. Now let's look at similar figures. Similar figures have the same shape, but not necessarily the same size. So that means it can be bigger or smaller, just as long as they're the exact same shape. So same shape, but not necessarily the same size. Okay, so let's look at these first two figures here, the triangles. Now I see that they're both triangles, and they both appear to be equilateral triangles, where the sides are the same length, each side is the same length, and the angles have the same angle. But they're not the same size. But you know what? That's okay, because as long as they're the same shape, they are similar. Now, are these shapes congruent? No, they're not, because in order to be congruent, they have to be the same size as well. But these two are similar. Now let's look at this next set of shapes right here. We have the hexagon and we have the octagon. Are they the same shape? No, they're not. One has 5 sides, the other has 8 sides, so therefore they are not similar, nor are they congruent. Let's look at the next set of shapes. There we go. in order to check this out, they kind of look like the same, but let's flip this around so they look the same to see if they are the same. They are the same shape, not necessarily the same size. Does that mean they could be the same size? Yeah, it does. They can be the same size to be similar. So let's see, let's do a little experiment. They are the same size, so therefore they're also congruent. These two shapes are not only similar, but they're congruent as well because they have the same shape and the same size. Let's look at the next set of shapes here. We have a star and an X. Well, they're not even close to being the same shape. So I can already tell you they are not similar at all. They're also not congruent. And we have the stars. Same shape, so they're similar. Are they congruent? Well, let's find out. They are congruent as well because they have the same size. Okay, so that is our very short lesson today, and then now it is your turn to try. Page 407, 1 through 12, even. Thank you very much. Bring your questions to class tomorrow, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night.